Hello. If you're watching this video, I just want to start by thanking you for taking the time to watch this video. I hope you'll finish it. There's two purposes for this video. I'm going to try to make this as fast as I possibly can. One purpose is I would like to plant seeds for people who have been in a position like mine, or for people who have put people in a position like mine. I believe that we are supposed to help each other, and so I'm hoping that I can plant seeds in that positive way. As well, I'm hoping if you're watching this, that you could take something from this and maybe plant seeds somewhere else for somebody else. The main catalyst, the second reason for this video, in the present, I am set to represent myself in a court case that is corrupt, that is full of slander, defamation of my character, falsified dates, falsified information. Pretty much my character has been assassinated illegally, maliciously and intentionally to harm me. And not only to harm me, which I will prove through facts, that is the intention, but also for greed. We don't often talk about the things that we should talk about, right? I think we all know that's the truth. We all know the conversation. You run into somebody and it's, hey, how are you? Good. How are you? Good. Good. It's not real. That's not true. We're not always all good. But we don't like to be vulnerable. We don't like to speak about the truth. And so that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to speak about a truth that is not only mine, but a truth that I believe belongs to many people who have suffered the same way that I have suffered. There's three topics I'm going to discuss, and they're all going to correlate together, and they're all going to relate directly to my court case and to my present sufferings and the unjust, cruel acts against me for the past 2 months. The first topic is abuse, emotional, mental, and psychological abuse. This is a very important topic and it's not discussed often. If I were to have been physically abused, if I had 2 black eyes, a busted lip, and a broken arm in this video, I wouldn't have to say too much, right? But when it comes to emotional, mental, and psychological abuse, typically those abusers are extremely manipulative. They premeditate things so that the people they're abusing can't speak for themselves or don't feel confident to do so. I was never intended to speak for myself. One reason being my character is typically reserved for good reason. And the second reason being the level of manipulation that I've endured the last 2 months was meticulously planned to put me in a position to not feel secure in telling my truth. The second important topic is the effects that emotional, mental, and psychological abuse has on someone. I promised God that I would be honest and vulnerable in this video, and so I will tell you what I've endured has caused me to pray for my own death. And I'm sure there are many others who have actually committed suicide due to mental, emotional, and psychological abuse. If I had chosen to take my own life as opposed to making this video, my abuser would have surely told everyone that I was suffering from mental illness. And everyone would have said, I can't believe it. I never knew. I'm not suffering from mental illness. The only mental suffering I've ever endured is because of the abuse that I've endured. And that's it. By the grace of God, the strength and perseverance that God has provided me, I am here making this video instead of taking my own life, instead of continuing to pray for my own death. And the third topic is the power of God. There is no power that is greater than the power of God. And that is what has allowed me to survive. What I have been through, I don't believe my abuser could have survived, to be honest. I don't believe many people would survive, but I take no credit for surviving because I believe that I was prepared for this by God. because I was intended to experience this. I believe this was written. I've suffered a lot more than the last 2 months, but I have been asked, directed to speak with grace and mercy, even though absolutely no grace and mercy has been shown to me. And so that's what I intend to do to the best of my ability. It's very hard to articulate the truth of my sufferings with the use of grace and mercy, but I'm going to try. As I said, I've suffered a lot more than the last 2 months, but I don't believe I need to even tell you that. Once I tell you what I've endured the last 2 months, I think that will paint a good enough picture. So I'll start with the topic 1, abuse. I would like to tell you so much more than what I'm going to tell you, because the power of God is great. But I will tell you about that at a later time. I will. But I spent a lot of time with God the last couple of years because of the abuse I've endured. And over time, it led me to a very low place in my life. And when I tried to lean on my abuser, I never received any emotional support or response, just silence. And so that led me to leaning on God, and I believe that was divinely intended. If it weren't for what I've endured, I never would have leaned on God the way that I did. And knowing what I know now, as hard as it's been, I wouldn't change anything, because I feel blessed to know the things that I know now. I sacrificed my livelihood, I sacrificed my joy so that my spouse could start a new career. I sacrificed the best job I've ever had. I took care of our children for the last 2.5 years, 25, 30 hours a week, doctor's appointments, therapies. All so that she could have the job she has, so that our family could operate like a family, because that's what you do. You sacrifice for your family. And I was fine doing that. I chose to do that. I did not know when I sacrificed that everything I sacrificed for would eventually be used against me. I could have never imagined. This summer, I got really close to God, and I was being led divinely to read 15 to 20 different books in a 2-month time span. I probably hadn't read 2 books in 15 years prior to that, but I was led to these specific books. I was led to hours of research this summer as well. And I'm kind of a nerd, so by August, calculating all of the data that I had downloaded, and I asked God, I said, God, what are you preparing me for? That was my one question this summer. What are you preparing me for? Because in my calculations, everything that I had been led to, all the data I had downloaded, the most logical thing I could come up with was that I was being prepared for something. And there was more to it. My relationship with God is, I want to tell you all about it, and I will in another video at a later date. But what are you preparing me for? I didn't get an answer. So August led to September, and I'm going to dive into the abuse part here. Everything I'm going to tell you right now is a fact. It's not an opinion. This is the premeditated manipulation of an abuser. Very meticulous, with cruel, malicious intent. In September, I celebrated my birthday with my spouse. She bought me hundreds of dollars of birthday gifts, the most she'd ever bought me before, and I did not expect it, and I was very grateful. The next day, she took me to a couples Reiki session, something I had never done before. I was very grateful. That evening, she insinuated that she wanted to have a physical interaction, and my response to that was that I didn't feel comfortable with the physical interaction, because all the time I had spent with God, all the time I had spent alone with no support emotionally, had led me to understand creating boundaries. It had self-love. I had become a stronger version of myself. And so, like an adult, I just verbalized, like a human, I verbalized to her that the experiences I had had with her emotionally and mentally had caused me trauma. I verbalized this to her. And she didn't like that. And so she gave me the silent treatment for several days after that. And that was all right because in our relationship, receiving the silent treatment was normal and not talking about emotions was normal. So I didn't think anything about it. I didn't know that it was going to be the catalyst to her premeditating and planning my demise. A couple weeks goes by, first week of October comes, and again, everything had been normal. There was nothing different in our relationship. She texted me every day. We talked about our kids, shared pictures, talked in person. Nothing was different that I knew of. Her and God do differently. The first week of October, God began to nudge me. And what I mean by that is intuition and discernment. There were red flags appearing, and I wasn't sure what was happening, but I could feel it. And so God began to nudge me the first week of October. She began to offer to pay bills for me that she had never offered to pay before. Mind you, I take care of our children several hours each morning, several hours each evening while she's at work. Therapies, doctor's appointments, sick days, all that. So she had never offered to pay these bills before, but out of nowhere, she's started to be extremely charming and kind to me. And it was so odd to me, the behavior, because I had a mortgage that was past due for a house that I've owned for 12 years, and she wouldn't pay the mortgage to catch it up, but she was willing to pay student loans. There's something about that didn't sit right with me. But I wasn't sure what was going on. I could feel it. God was nudging me. So I asked her in a text message, are your intentions towards me good? That's an odd question to ask your spouse, but I did. And her response was, yes, why wouldn't it be? So, went on. She was charming, kind. Everything was normal. Week 2 of October, God nudges me again. Randomly one day, out of nowhere, I get a text from her. I'm worried about your mental health. You see, there's several red flags in this. When I tried to talk to her about things, she wouldn't discuss it. But here on this random day, for no apparent reason, she was worried about my mental health. That was a big red flag. So of course I responded. I felt great because I did. Nothing wrong. I didn't know what she was doing behind my back. I didn't know she was premeditating and maliciously trying to ruin my life. She knew. God knew. I didn't know. So she didn't say anything else about it. She never said anything to my face before that text, and she never said anything to my face after that text. So she really wasn't concerned about my mental health at all, which let me know that the intentions behind that text were ill. Still, I knew nothing. October 10th, God nudged me. And I mean this, I was divinely led to post on October 10th. What's done in the dark will come to light. It's hard for people to believe about divine intervention, but I had no idea what was being done in the dark. Not a clue. But I posted that, right? Because I was led to post that. 3 days later, she came home, and there had still been no negative interaction between us. And kindly, she said she would like to get a divorce. And I said, I agree. There was no negative interaction in that conversation. We went to bed. I thought at the time, I have another chance at life, you know. No harm, no foul. What's done is done. We'll go our separate ways. We'll raise our children. Life will be fine. But that was not what she had in mind, because she had already premeditated this. She had already been doing things behind my back without me knowing, with the intention of hurting me, harming me, for no reason, other than, I guess, I rejected a physical interaction after she spent money on me, and I voiced that she traumatized me. So, I don't know how someone like that thinks, but I guess she thought she would traumatize me more. The next day, after she brought the divorce up verbally, she said that she'd already filled out the paperwork and talked to the courthouse, and all I had to do was sign it and go get it notarized with her. God nudged me again. Something wasn't right. Still, I did not know what she had done. A A couple days goes by, and she comes home with the printed off copies. She's still charming, still nice, and she's like, let's go get these signed and notarized. And she's nice as could be. God nudged me again, don't do it. I wanted to just run free to my life, but someone right. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit, but what I didn't know at the time was, I would find out the first week of November, she had premeditated this. She had already actually removed all the deposits from our bank account that we shared. The only money I had. She moved it to a new bank account. She knew this. God knew this. I did not know this. She was trying to sabotage me so that I would have no money unexpectedly to survive, to pay my bills, so I would lose things so she could harm me and hurt me cruelly, illegally, unjustly. But I didn't know this. So I told her that, set a boundary like in September, and I said, I'm not sure about this. I think I need to have a professional look at it. That's all I said. I wasn't mean about it. I was matter of fact, just like I am right now. And immediately, all the charm, all the kindness that she had given me in October, it was gone. In an instant, I saw her. The her I knew behind closed doors. She looked at me and she said, you will not use my money to get a lawyer. Red flag. So her intentions towards me weren't good. I still didn't know she had already moved the money. I had no idea. She knew. God knew. I didn't. So nothing else happened. She continued after that. We raised our kids. A couple weeks goes by, and one day, a guy shows up at my door and serves me with papers. She hired a lawyer. Now, the first red flag here is she knew she had moved all the money. I still didn't know because I don't look at the bank account. All I do is pay bills and buy groceries. I don't spend money on anything else. So I had no idea. She was willing to pay a stranger, a lawyer. She was willing to pay them and give them money before she was willing to give me money just to pay my bills to leave. My money. That's intention. That's bad, malicious intention. It's manipulative. And that wasn't the worst of it. When I opened the document and saw that she falsified information, perjury. She falsified dates. She slandered my name, defamed my character, made false claims and allegations. I might appear stoic in the moment. I've dealt with this for 2 months now, and I've dealt with this a lot longer than that. I hit the floor. Literally, I hit the floor. I screamed, I howled like a wild animal. I curled up in a ball, I cried. I couldn't believe she was capable of doing that to me. For nothing, because I hadn't done anything to her. So I couldn't believe someone could be so cruel, intentionally cruel, just the mother of her children. God lifted me up off the floor within a couple minutes. I stopped crying, and I started thinking, and I started talking to God. I didn't understand what was happening to me. I didn't understand why this was happening to me. I didn't. So I asked her one time. One time I asked her why she would do that. And she just looked at me. The same way she looked at me when I told her she had traumatized me. The same way she looked at me any other time I had tried to talk to her about my emotions. She just looked at me. She wouldn't say anything. She knew she had lied. She knew what she did. She didn't care. She had no empathy, no shame, no guilt, no conscience. She was hoping it hurt me. She started to bully me, taunt me, harass me, laugh about it to my face, post stuff online. And I didn't respond. Not to any of it, because God told me not to respond. God told me. These lies she's told about you, she's trying to trigger you. She's trying to bring you out of who you are. And this attempt to destroy my life just brought me closer and closer and closer to God. And I believe it was planned that way, so that I would make this video for people who suffered just like me. Emotionally, mentally, psychologically abused for no reason, with no help. The intent was to make me hopeless, homeless, helpless. And it almost worked. More than once, I prayed for my own death in the last 2 months. More than once, I curled up on the floor. But the worst was yet to come. So not only had she slandered my name, not only had she made up these lies about me, not only was she now taunting me and trying to trigger me intentionally, but another week goes by and she goes to Miami to celebrate, I guess, my demise with my money. And with my kids in the back seat of the car, I go to the bank to get money to pay my bills, only to find that the money is gone. That was the first couple days of November. There was $500 in there. I took it out, and I knew I couldn't pay my bills because I knew that I was going to have to survive with that money. God, through intuition, told me this. And with my kids in the back seat of the car, I wanted to scream right there at the ATM. I wanted to cry. I wanted to die. And of course, you know, I say I prayed for death. I didn't want to die. Let me take that back. I wanted to live. I wanted to be free to live. But I don't even know that I need to explain, to be honest. Imagine the person that you sacrificed everything in your life for doing this to you for no reason. Cruel. Tried to hold myself together. I didn't know what to do. I was panicking inside. And there was this button on the ATM and it said like statement balance or something. I don't know. I never clicked it a day in my life, but God just told me click it. So I clicked it, and it opens up these options. Print these, print these, print these. So I just printed everything I could, and I start looking at it. I pull away and I park, and I just start looking at it. My kid's in the back seat, and I see. That's when I see. The first week of October was the last deposit in that account. I went back through our text messages. The first week of October, she was kind as could be to me. She had premeditated this. And you see, there's a lot of intention here. She never made these slanderous, false allegations towards me until I refused to sign her online documents. She was already I already moved the money. She was already trying to ruin my life then, and I didn't even know it. She didn't falsify perjury information until she paid another person when she wouldn't even give me $1. So this revenge, because she felt rejected by me, because I told her that she traumatized me. And do I need to even take you back into our relationship to show you what she's capable of when it comes to trauma? I don't think so. These are facts. There's receipts. There's a trail. This is what happens to people. People get manipulated. They get placed in a place where they don't feel they can speak up for themselves. They have slander put on them, lies told against them, and they don't feel comfortable. Look at me. I haven't felt comfortable my whole life. I've always felt like I was a target for evil, just because of the way I look. Now add slander and false allegations to it. I was scared to leave my house for the last 2 months. Literally. Not to mention I haven't had any money to leave my house for 2 months. In the present, I think it's also telling that I have been left to care for my children 25 to 30 hours a week, to take them to 2 and 3 doctor's appointments each week, to and from daycare, with no access to my own funds. I've been cashing in change. I've been to Coinstar 3 times this week, and I think I have maybe $100 and some left in change. Not a single bill paid. I've been cashing in change to get minimal gas and minimal food. So not only has this emotional, mental, psychological abuse affected me in those ways, it's affected me physically. Imagine. I mean, if you can even imagine. I've sat and I've thought, what if someone did this to my kid? I wouldn't wish this on anybody I know, not even the person that did it to me. As I've sat with God, God has instilled in me the power of faith over fear. That's the most important thing God has taught me for the last 2 months. Faith over fear. I trust God more than I trust any human on this planet. For good reason. This world has become more consumed with materials, greed, power over people, than concern with human life and truth. It's become socially normal to practice self-gain at another person's expense. It's become socially normal to lack remorse and lack accountability. We are not on this planet for bank accounts, for cars, for social statuses, for power. That is not why we're here. We're on this planet to love each other, to lift each other up, to help each other reach our fullest potential through love. We're on this planet to evolve, to heal, to grow, to learn from each other. That's why we're here. God taught me forgiveness and unconditional love during these last 2 months, and that has been the hardest thing I've had to grasp. Because trust me when I tell you I wanted to be angry, and there's been moments I've been angry. But unconditional love is, I waited all this time to tell this truth. I waited because I didn't want to hurt the person who was willfully hurting me. That's unconditional love. I prayed more for the person harming me than I prayed for myself while I was being harmed. That's unconditional love. Forgiveness, actually, maybe a little easier, maybe not, I don't know, but Jesus knew what Judas was going to do to him before he did it, right? In the Bible, Judas lied on Jesus to have him crucified on the cross. And Jesus knew Judas was going to do that, and Jesus did nothing to Judas in return. Jesus said, "Forgive them, Lord, for they know not what they do." That's how I know forgiveness, because the 15 or 20 books I've read this summer, the relationship I've built with God over the last couple years and throughout my life, not everyone has that. Not everyone's been a biracial, masculine lesbian in West Virginia. So I can't expect everyone to think how I think, to understand unconditional love the way I understand it, or forgiveness. Therefore, it's easier for me to forgive people because they don't know what they're doing. Not the way I know what they're doing, right? If that makes any sense at all. That's what God's taught me just over the last 2 months. Pure faith, unconditional love, and forgiveness. Life is a test. I promise you. I used to be an opinion of mine, but it's not an opinion. God has confirmed for me life is a test. And the answer to that test is to exercise love and to evolve. We all have traumas. We all have trials and tribulations. You must ask why. What can I learn? Heal, grow, evolve. Exercise love. If love was exercised to me, this video wouldn't exist. But this video exists for a reason. I didn't get love the way I should have because this video needed to exist. Someone needed to be strong enough to tell this truth. Manipulative behavior like this is not uncommon. And we need to start helping each other. I don't wish anything bad for my abuser. In fact, like I said, this hurts me more than anything to have to tell this truth. Although it didn't hurt them at all to do what they've done to me. They've not apologized because they're not sorry. They wanted to inflict pain upon me because of their own inner demons. I became a scapegoat for someone else's anger, hatred, and unhealed traumas. But I've accepted that. I'm not sure there's that much more to say about it. I mean, it's long enough, I guess, but I will say this, I'm not perfect, So if you're watching this, I don't want anybody to take anything out on the person who did this to me. I want you to grow from this yourself, and I want you to plant seeds and help other people grow, help each other. The Bible tells us, Romans 3:23, for all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. We all sin. I'm not perfect. I've been angry. I've been bitter. I've been resentful. I've drank. I've been drunk. I've said stupid things. But I have taken it upon myself to sit with God, to reflect, to have a conscience. And I can promise you, in all the things I've ever done, I have never in my life intentionally hurt someone. We're expected to fall short. Life is a test, and there would be no test if we were perfect. So again, Romans 3:23, for all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. It's not about what you do to someone or what you've done. It's about what you do after the fact. You reflect. Do you have shame? Do you have guilt? Do you have a conscience? If you've done something unrighteous, do you continue to pile on with unrighteous deeds, or do you turn it around and do the right thing? God is real. The divine world around us is real. I promise you that. And I will prove that in time. God will prove that. I'm going to end it with this. Sorry, I'm still going. There's an old Cherokee tale. It's called The Tale of Two Wolves or something like that. And if you haven't heard it, look it up. All right. But again, this is how forgiveness and unconditional love works, right? So the Tale of Two Wolves, it's like the grandfather and a grandson are sitting around a campfire, and the grandfather, is telling the grandson, there's two wolves inside of all of us. We have a dark wolf and a light wolf. And the dark wolf is hatred, is greed, is evil, is anger, is bitterness. And the light wolf is love, is joy, is peace, is kindness. And the grandson asks the grandfather, well, which wolf wins? And the grandfather says, it's the wolf that you choose. It's a choice. Right is right, wrong is wrong. It's a choice. Doesn't mean we don't mess up, but it's a choice. We all have the dark and the light wolf. Whatever wolf you choose to feed not only affects you, but it affects the people around you. Okay? It's like the saying, misery loves company, right? I've been miserable. I've endured things that have made me miserable, but I have never wanted company in that. I have chosen to still go out in the world and to feed my light wolf and not my dark wolf, even in my most miserable moments like this. It's a choice. If you've watched this, thank you, and I hope you've taken something from it. Thank you.